Hello, everyone. So today we have a special topic to discuss: females in tech and STEM, lessons from a World Championship robotics team. I am Lilia, the co-founder of Hebron Ecosystem. You can see it in my background. So it consists of Hebron Soft and Hebron IT Academy. We started the IT Academy first 9 years ago. It's a tech training school for orphans and underprivileged youth in Ukraine. That's how we started. We started first with the boys facility, but later on added girls facility. The topic that we are going to discuss is very dear to my heart because I know how hard it is for women to become successful either in STEM or leadership, management positions, designers, you name it, type of job. So Hebron has been providing education, and we call it, we teach how to fish and not provide a ready fish for kids aged 18 plus years old, 18 to 22. We've helped over 300 students change their lives, because not only do we provide education, but we provide housing, room and board, and psychological support, all of the trauma release, all we can to help them become successful in life and profession. And Hebron Soft is a for-profit company, a software development company that provides services to the US and Canada-based clients, mostly, right? But we also have some European clients. And the income goes to support the charity, and also serves as a source of employment and internship for the students, for the graduates from Hebron. So that's a little bit me, but we are going to have Marcus, our special guest, and the girls from high school. So let me introduce Marcus. Marcus is you see, an amazing, that's the word, a leader who's helped not only professionals, but also high school kids in different areas. So throughout his career, Marcus has focused on growing exceptional teams chartered with delivering strategy, technology, product execution, marketing in the US, Asia, Europe. He's also a passionate spokesperson for reforming the healthcare delivery system and serves on the board of the National Alliance for Caregiving. When I saw Marcus' profile, first of all, obviously he has over 25 years of experience in the high-tech industry, bringing together technology and services to meet the market's needs. But his main, the motto, when I saw Marcus' profile, the background image on LinkedIn says, "World Champions, all girls, underwater robotics." So yes, that's like, wow, world champions, that's already wow. Now we go more specific, all girls. But then with underwater robotics, you cannot beat that, how more specific you can be. So welcome, Marcus, and welcome you girls. Let me ask deep dive and ask the questions. So tell us about the robotics team and competition.
Sure. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
Excellent. So at St. Francis High School here, this is an all-girls high school, and we have a robotics team. It's an underwater robotics team. I asked the executive leadership team from that team today to join me. So that's Lauren and Isa and Sienna, and they'll tell you a little bit about their experience. The team is, there's an underwater robotics league, and it's got about 300 teams in it from around the world. This team took the World Championship last year. So we've been working our way up. I think we were 18th in the world 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, and 4th 2 years ago. And last year we finally got the top spot. And I mean, the girls are amazing. The team is amazing. You'll hear from them. A lot of what we focus on and the way that we really build that winning team is through culture and people and structure, right? I mean, there's a lot of good engineers out there, but we really have an interesting or a big focus on culture and team and structure and those things. And that's what creates the enduring year after year improvement in performance, right? Very much like any kind of organization. I would say, the reason we do underwater robotics is because it's hard. Like, it's a lot harder than on land robotics, because you have to worry about your robot flooding and water getting in and all of those pieces of the puzzle. So from a learning experience, it provides an incredible learning experience, both from an engineering perspective. How do you put electronics underwater without them getting wet? But also it provides team dynamics learning experience, because the robot might flood, and then it's about how do we fix it. It's not about pointing fingers at people and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of really great pieces of underwater robotics. One of the things about this league is there are no kits, there's no parts. Some of the robotics leagues, they say, here's your motor, here's your wheels, here's your microprocessor. This is, here's a problem and here's a whiteboard, go figure it out, right? Which I really, really like from a creativity perspective. And the girls on the team are so creative at coming up with great engineering solutions and then testing those and throwing out the bad ones and keeping the good ones and moving us forward to competition. It's a huge commitment. The girls meet every Saturday from September until May from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. And then we usually, like most projects, get behind schedule. So we add some weekdays during the later part of the project. So huge commitment, and the girls are totally committed to that and to performing. It's fantastic. So super lucky. We have a very specific mission. The mission is to discover engineers, build confidence in engineering, and build confidence in leadership, and then have the girls lead the team. It's very specific to the girls team. I also coach, I'm an assistant coach for a boys team at the all boys high school. But I would say the key thing, especially in high school, is a lot of the girls come in to high school without knowing whether they want to be in STEM fields, whether they want to be engineers. I would say a much higher percentage of the boys come in already understanding that that's what they want to do. I don't know why it's that way, but I think it's really important from our perspective. We accept everyone on the team, anybody who's willing to make the time commitment. We accept on the team. And I would say many of them join the team for a host of reasons. Some of them are social, some of them are, a very mild interest. And then I would say for a percentage of them, maybe 30–40%, it becomes their primary activity. Like it's what they do from the minute they wake up until the minute they go to bed. But they have to filter in some calculus and some US history and stuff in between their robotics. So it's really cool to see that. And then unfortunately, we only get them for 4 years, and they're off to some amazing college and then off to some amazing career to go change the world. So that's what we're all about.
Yeah, wonderful. So the chances that something might go wrong underwater are very high. That's all, and it's all about how do you approach it when something fails, right?
Exactly.
And like you said, the boys usually come, it's more percentage boys versus girls. Same at Hebron, we have like now 90% boys and only 10% girls, and we want to grow the girls. And today, hopefully you will unveil and share how to combine that confidence and leadership. So my next question is, I know you put a lot of effort into the operations of the team and student leadership. How do you run this team? What are the guiding principles you rely on?
Sure. I have a recent LinkedIn post that seemed to get a lot of attention, where I said, robots don't win robotics competitions, teams do, right? And so we had every week, well, let me back up a little bit. We have an organizational structure on the team. So we have an executive leadership team. They're our most senior members, and they've got the most commitment and the most experience, but importantly, they've also got the strongest leadership skills, and they're invited into that position. So it's not, you can't apply for executive leadership role. There's only 3 of them, and they're invited by the coaches. But importantly, they have to think about and accept that responsibility, because leadership isn't something which is appointed, and leadership isn't about power. Leadership is an obligation. It's something that's a responsibility. right? And so when the coaches invite the executive leadership team members to be on that team, they have to realize that their goal is success through other people, not success on their own. And especially in high school, that's a pretty big mission, right? Because if you have a job to do, if you have to build the electronics board, but somebody else needs help, well, you have to help them first. And if that means you have to build the electronics board tonight at home, well, that's what you have to do. But that's
Right.
what being a leader on that team is about. And we use a servant leadership model, which I can talk a little bit more about later, but we use a servant leadership model, which means those people that you're serving as the leader come first, right? And if you hold their success first, truly deeply in your heart, hold their success first, they will know that. And if they know that, then they'll get all kinds of stuff done for you, right? And so we really focus on that. Yeah, and then we have a functional leadership structure underneath that. And so the functional leadership structure is a mechanical engineering lead, a software lead, as you would expect, right? And then they are responsible for their team for managing that's more of a manager position for managing the responsibilities within that team. But that's where we get our executive leadership team from, of course, the subsequent year and so forth. So that's how we have it set up. Our team is pretty big. We have 26 people on the team. It's about 3 times the size of a normal team in this league. So it would be like having, a soccer team with like 60, a football team with like 60 people on it. Like you have to figure out how to make all of that work, right? And the only way to structure that is with an org structure and a leadership structure and a management structure. And so we have all that in place.
Yeah, so leadership and confidence. Maybe you can share a bit about that. How do they work together?
Yeah, so I mean, I think this is really important. I'll touch on a couple of things. One of the differences between coaching girls and coaching boys, and there's a lot of data and study on this. Happy to share some of the studies, but there's something called attribution theory. That's like the psychosocial name or whatever. But what it comes down to is that girls will tend to assign failure to themselves, and they will tend to assign success to other people. And boys will do exactly the opposite. They'll tend to assign success to themselves and failure to other people. And one of my favorite examples is IKEA. So if you go to IKEA, the furniture store, and you buy some IKEA furniture, and it comes in a box, right? And you have to take it all apart, and there's all these instructions, and you have to put it together. And everybody struggles to put IKEA furniture together. Everybody struggles with that. Like in the US, at least, it's a meme. Like there's TikToks about how hard it is to put IKEA furniture together, right? So if a woman takes that IKEA furniture into their room, and say their husband takes the same exact IKEA furniture into another room, and they both work to build that furniture and get it all out of the box, and they're building it, and they get, to some part that they're struggling with, they're not doing well, the woman will have a tendency to say, oh, I'm not good at this. This is not for me. I should find somebody else who knows how to do this, right? I'm sure somebody could do this better.
I'm not smart enough, right?
I'm not smart enough, right? Exactly. The guy will say, who wrote these stupid instructions? Why is this design so bad? Right? This is dumb, right? Like they will blame somebody else, or they'll blame like physics or something, right? And so I see that in high school. With the girls, I see that, right? And with the boys, sometimes I have to pull them aside when there's a failure and say, wait a minute, maybe that failure was because of something you did. Maybe we need to think about how we're doing this, right? So that we can do it better next time.
Right.
But with the girls in high school, we have to say, look, this is engineering. It's the process. And I have a sign right here that says engineering is the process of failing over and over without losing enthusiasm. So you have to be just as excited after the 4th failure and the 5th failure and the 6th and the 10th failure and the 50th failure. You have to be just as excited about the problem as you were the first time you tried to solve it. And that is super hard to do, right? But it's really hard when you blame yourself and you think it's an attribute of yourself and a shortcoming of yourself, it's a lot easier if you're blaming somebody else. And neither one of those is probably quite right. What's right is engineering is hard, like, and you're gonna fail. And that's okay. It's part of the process. And what happens in real life in a product, and this makes it even more difficult, what happens in a product in real life, I mean, I worked for Intel, I worked for big companies. When you release a product, you look at it and go, if you're on the engineering team, every time you look at it and go, it's still terrible. We still don't like it. We can still make it better. Why are we shipping it into production? Well, you have to ship it into production because you have to get money so you can build the next version. Like, we've literally been building microprocessors for 65 years and they're not done yet. Like, so
that's perfect.
That's part of the process. But what it causes a lot of times is it causes the women to decide, I don't like this feeling. I don't want to do this, right? So it's really important to recognize that it's different. It's not right or wrong. And again, that you got to have a other conversation with the boys. Like, it's not a right or wrong. It's that engineering's hard. And if you beat yourself up all the time, it's really hard to stay in the game, right? But if you can see both that engineering's hard and that the boys at the table are not doing this to themselves every time that there's a failure, right? Then you can recognize it and you can adapt and you can work to manage it. But it's not easy.
Right. Well, I will even add another cultural layer to this. So we talked how boys don't they make mistakes and they don't look back. Girls, they always blame themselves. So my 6-year-old girl, my daughter, goes to school here in San Diego. And every time she comes, she says, oh, teacher teaches me that it's good to make mistakes. That's how I learn. Now, I think when I was 5, 6 years old, that was when the Soviet Union crashed. And I went to start at school. And I remember we were not allowed to make mistakes. In the Soviet times and post-Soviet times, they said mistakes are bad. So that's even, I wanted to add that cultural layer, how hard it is for women in Eastern Europe, particularly in Ukraine, to overcome all those challenges and barriers. And that's probably why, well, I would say that engineering is very strong in Ukraine. Marcus, you worked with teams, engineering teams in Ukraine, and males are usually quite good, but females are still lacking that confidence. So they feel, oh, what if I make mistakes? Do I look bad? So maybe you can share your feedback on that. Like, will they think bad about me?
Sure. Everybody, we have an English word, it's called insecure, meaning you don't feel secure about yourself, right? Everybody is insecure. Everybody. Women, guys, CEO, VP, senior VP, everybody's insecure.
Right.
Everybody thinks that everybody else is looking at them all the time, right? They think that everybody in the world is running around looking at them going, oh, is Lilia going to make a mistake? Is what Sienna did right or wrong? Is Issa going to do that correctly? People aren't doing that. They don't have time to do that. They don't want to do that. That's not what's happening. But it's really easy to feel that way. So the first thing I would ask is, do you run around looking at everybody else going, oh, is Lily going to say something wrong? Is Daniela going to do something wrong? No, nobody is running around wondering that, and you aren't either, right? So don't feel like everybody's staring at you because they're not. They live in their own world. They have their own stuff that they have to do and take care of, and they're going to go do that stuff, right? I think that's the first piece. I think the second piece is, when you see a problem, like you're in an organization and you see a problem, run towards that problem, which may seem very, very strange. Like, hey, we've got, we're building this application for a pharmaceutical company, whatever it is. And there's a huge performance issue. Like, all of a sudden it's working really well, but all of a sudden the performance is terrible. It takes 5 seconds for the web page to upload. So your tendency might be, ooh, I don't want to run towards, it's not my problem. I didn't create the problem. I don't want to run towards that problem. I don't want to be associated with the problem, right? I don't want to become too close to the problem. That's exactly backwards. Run straight to the problem. If you have anything to do with it, it doesn't have to be your problem, it doesn't have to be related to your problem or to what you're doing. Run towards the problem. And the reason to run towards the problem is that's where the opportunity is. The opportunity to help, to make impact, to be seen by other people and have the visibility that what you're doing is really helpful and successful and working is where the problem is. I'll give you a great example. If later in your careers, when you've run big organizations and you've got, say you're going to become a CEO for the first time, and you're looking for the kind of company you want to become a CEO of, and you've got two choices in front of you. You've got one company which is running really, really well. They're profitable, they're doing great, they have a lot of, customers. And there's another company that has an okay product, but the business is not running well. Which one of those is a better opportunity?
Second.
The second one. Because if I run towards the first one, the best thing I can do is keep it the same. So I go there, I pour my heart into it for 5 years. It's great. It's exactly the same or maybe 10% better than when I got there. And they go, great. Thank you very much for being a shepherd for 5 years, right? But I go to the other one, it's already a disaster. So if I make it, half of what it should be, all of a sudden I'm a hero. Now take that and scale it way down to your everyday role. Run towards the problem. The problem is where the opportunity is. And if it takes you 5 times to fix it or help fix it, nobody's sitting there counting. They're just not. Think about all the people you know. Do you know anybody that has ever been, in a good company that's ever been fired or demoted or anything because with good intent, they were truly trying to help, they made an honest mistake? No, it doesn't happen. Right? And if it does happen, it's the wrong company and go find a different leadership structure. Right?
Yeah, those are great lessons, great examples. So you mentioned you are an assistant coach to all boys high school teams. How is it different for boys?
I would say the two big differences for boys are by the time they get to high school, a lot of them have a good idea if they want to be an engineer or other STEM degree, that's where they want to go. And then I would say the other thing is they don't have any fear of breaking things and making mistakes. In fact, we have to dial that down a little bit. Like, hey, that's not safe. How about if we don't do it that way, right? And so it's really an active process of dialing that down on the boys' team and dialing the risk-taking up on the girls' team. Like, I mean, that's what we do every day. Yeah.
You have to slow boys down as opposed to get the speed for the girls. And when you slow
That's
boys
exactly
down,
right.
yeah, okay. That's
yeah, and think about the consequences. In a robotics team, like we break stuff. We break a lot of stuff. Think about how big the consequences are. We have some parts that are expensive, $100 or more, just a few of those. We have some parts that are cheap, $2 or $3. Like, think about how much risk you're going to take in damaging that based on what it costs. If it's $2 or $3, I'll just get you a new one. I mean, that was a great lesson, right? If it's $150, hold on a second. let me look at that before you do that, right? And the same thing is true with safety, right? Like, if you're using a drill, one level of risk management. If you're using a big saw, different level of risk management, right? So that same kind
Right.
of thing applies all along the way. But I would say from a differences perspective, whether it's on the how much does this stuff cost or is this a safe thing to do, it's the same. It's dial the risk down a little bit for high school boys. I mean, they're at the peak of their risk-taking years, right? And
Right.
dial up the speed and the willingness to take risk on the girl side. Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah. So I'm sure you have many, many more plans. So what's next for you at St.
Yeah,
Francis?
we've got some pretty cool stuff here. I mean, robotics is clearly my passion. It's what I love doing here with the girls team. We are have just been approved though to build out what we're calling a STEM zone. And so the STEM zone will take a building we have here at St. Francis that's not getting used, and we're going to build out. It's about 4,000 square feet, which I guess would be 300 cubic square meters, something like that, and maybe 400 square meters. And we're going to build out a STEM area for every student to be able to use at St. Francis, all the girls, whether you're on the
Amazing.
robotics team or not.
Wow.
Yeah, so we'll have a maker space and we'll have some technology collaboration areas and that kind of thing. Really, the mission is, again, if there are girls who aren't yet willing to commit every Saturday in their high school years, then let them have another way of trying this and see if they like it. And if they don't, that's great. You learn this is not for you. Like, great, we need it. Not everybody should be in STEM, right? We need other stuff too.
But
So
everybody needs to try, at least try
everybody
and
should
figure
try
out.
it. That's exactly
Right.
right. So that's kind of where we're headed next. And then also using the high school platform to engage middle school, which is our younger in sixth, seventh, and eighth grade here in the US. So for two reasons. One is to give the middle school students, boys and girls, just opportunity to explore earlier. But really important, when we bring in the middle schools, we'll have these events, like a big event for all the middle schools in the area. It will be run by our girls. So they'll start to see a different definition of what an engineering leader is, right? They'll start to see a whole room full of girls helping them learn engineering, right? Which is a really key point for younger students.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, amazing. So at Hebron, we just launched we call it tech lab, where right now mostly males are playing with new technology like 3D printers, VR sets, etc. And other boys, I shared the video with you, printed the prosthesis arm. So it's all printed by 3D printer, all the pieces assembled together, assembled with the sensors and now working. We are looking for a project for now our females, and it will be great maybe if you can partner. Underwater robotics sounds like an amazing tool to give them to show their confidence and leadership.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
it's a great opportunity.
yeah, thank you also for bringing your girls, three high school students. So let's hear from the girls. And can you please introduce
Excellent.
them?
Yeah, I will. I'll introduce each one of them. Just in the interest of time, I'll do all the introductions. So Sienna, Isa, and Lauren, they're all seniors. They're all headed to some kind of engineering school this year, in engineering college going into next year. Sienna has been our software person for the last several years. She's also the pilot, so she's the winning pilot. And in what I think is a really cool transition, she made a complete switch last year from software to electrical engineering. So she went straight from Python and GitHub and so forth to with no experience to building a printed circuit board this year and learning about how electronics work. So it's really, really remarkable, and that's the kind of thing that if you just decide you're willing to do it and you're willing to make the mistakes along the way, you can do.
Commitment. Yeah.
Exactly. Isa, more mechanical background. So last year she made our gripper, our pneumatic gripper system, air-driven grippers. And for the first time we had what's called a rack and pinion gripper, but a really, really great gripper, which helped us in competition. So very mechanically oriented. And then she also made a 180-degree switch to electrical engineering this year and built her own printed circuit board, and same kind of confidence and risk-taking we saw there. And then Lauren is my daughter, and she is mechanical engineering background. She really dove into that. She joined the robotics team for social reasons. She had a friend during COVID. It was really hard to make friends in high school, so she had a friend that joined the robotics team. Her friend lasted about 3 or 4 weeks and left. And Lauren is
But
now
Lauren stayed.
Lauren stayed, and she's now the CEO of the team
Wow.
and headed to mechanical engineering school. Yeah, and she's really, in addition to engineering, she's super focused on the leadership side and how you lead teams and organizations. I would say everybody in the executive leadership team has that, but I think that's Lauren's big focus. So that's the team. I've got, I can kind of ask some questions, and you ladies can give some inputs and feedback. So have you guys ever had to overcome imposter syndrome or the attribution theory IKEA story that we talked about earlier? And what does that feel like? How did you deal with self-doubt in this area? How can you address some of those items?
So for me, I think I've definitely had experiences with imposter syndrome, and like up to now, like sometimes they still like come back and forth. And I think I've gotten better at overcoming that though, because when imposter syndrome does hit, it can feel really discouraging. And I'm not gonna lie, there were times where I was doing my college applications and I considered changing my major because I was like thinking this is not gonna work out. But the way I overcome it is when I enter that state of mind, and the more I think about it, I start to remember that robotics and engineering is truly my passion, and there's nothing else that it will be more fitting for me. There's nothing else that I want to do. And so then I understand that it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay for me to like learn new things because that's like part of the process. And doing that just kind of helps me stay in the field and keep wanting to learn, because even when I do make mistakes, I do enjoy it. The problem that I end up having is when other people would criticize upon them, but then I just remember that other people don't matter. All that matters is that I'm learning and I'm being able to do what I love.
When I get imposter syndrome, usually it's like when I'm doing my math homework and I just don't know what I'm doing, or I'm like extremely confused trying to do something like that. And then I'm like, maybe I shouldn't do engineering. I can't do this. It's too hard. But then I think, what else am I gonna do?
Everything is hard, right?
Yeah. So, and like, I don't really like writing and things like that. So I'm like, this is my pathway. And so I kind of just reassure myself that like it's okay, and like I might fail some classes in college, but oh well. And then also like I a lot of times will talk to my friends about it. Like I have talked to E7 like, hey, we can't do this. And then we like remind ourselves that engineering is for us and like that we can do it. And then also I try to go back to the things that one I know how to do, and two, like that I really like. So I'll help the current mechanical lead like build things, and it like shows me that I do know what I'm doing and that I am good at this and that I can succeed in college.
One question, because I know your story best. Have you
Okay.
ever had a scenario where you were convinced you were going to fail a test and you didn't fail it?
Yeah, many times. Well, I never thought I was going to get like an F, but I definitely thought I wasn't going to do well. And so when that would happen, I would think about like, how can I fix this for next time? And so like specifically in math class, I like got a tutor so that I can get help and like more specialized help. And then I also just dedicate more time to doing it. And that's helped me a lot, because now I'm like doing a lot better. And so I think that if there is something that like you're not as strong at, definitely just dedicate more time and like put like your heart into it, and like practice makes progress makes perfect, however you want to say it. I think that's really true. And so I think it's just important, like if you're not getting something the first time, just keep trying and eventually it'll work.
how has the all girls environment at St. Francis impacted your current path, your college choices? And will it be a challenge, do you think, to transition into the co-ed world going forward?
I can start with this question. I really like having the all-girls environment. It's part of why I chose to go to an all-girls school. So I was kind of ready for that before I even got here. But I noticed that being in an all-girls environment, specifically on our robotics team, it feels a lot more supportive for me. I definitely think if I was on a co-ed team, I don't even know if I would have tried robotics, to be honest. Because I think there was like I don't know, a fear of like the boys on the team might think that I'm like stupid or that I don't know what I'm doing, or that like the criticism is just gonna be like too much to deal with. And I think on the all girls team, it's just I feel like everybody else is thinking the same thing, which isn't necessarily a good thing, but it does help because I think it just feels a lot more supportive. And I also know that, when I was in middle school, we did not have that many opportunities to be engaged with technology, specifically the girls at my middle school. And I think a lot of the girls on our team have that same background where they didn't really get opportunities. And so I think it's also nice to just know that like we're all learning at the same time. And yeah, it's nice to have the all girls environment for sure. So.
What do you think transitioning into the co-ed, or Lauren, you can talk about transitioning to co-ed?
Oh yeah. I feel like it's gonna definitely be very challenging. Especially because we've been in an all girls environment for 4 years. But I think also, I mean, I know the college that I'm looking at has a lot of support systems for women in engineering, especially for women who are in their first year. Which I think I'm definitely going to get involved with, because I think having those support systems is going to be kind of the key to not letting any sort of discouragement get to me. But I do think it's going to be challenging, but it's also a challenge that like I know it'll be worth it in the end. And it's something that I feel like I'm prepared to, take on. So.
For me, exactly like what Sienna said, it's just really comfortable, and like you can make mistakes, and also you can just, I don't know, I just feel like you can be yourself more, and it's just like you're there with a bunch of your friends, and it's like you're hanging out, but you're also doing robotics, and as long as you're staying on task, like you can talk as much as you want. And so that's fun for me, because I just like, connecting with people and like making friends. And then sometimes, like my dad was saying, we do practice sometimes at the all boys school. And so that has given us some like experience with like guys, but it's been interesting. And so I think the transition to college, like I think it'll be okay. I don't like, we can't live in an all girls world for the rest of our lives. So, it has to happen at some point, but I think it's good that we got the experience when we did and really set up like a strong foundation. And like Sienna was saying, with like support groups, there are like clubs that are just for women in engineering, which provide like a really nice space that you can go to if people are like saying things. And then like my mom is an engineer, so I can also, talk to her and have her reassurance that like it's going to be okay, because she's kind of gone through the same things. And so like definitely talking to other people that have gone through it before you, I think, is a good way to like combat that. And just also, something that's kind of funny, I think, is when like, I'm sure you're all very smart, right? And so when a man assumes we're not smart, then it's really funny when when the light bulb goes off in their head that, oh, this girl actually knows what she's doing and we probably should stop saying things. I'm like, yeah, I told you. And yeah, it's just kind of funny.
That's amazing. Well, I love how St. Francis provides you a safe and encouraging environment to grow and to succeed. And then once you are in college, right, it might be different environment, but at least you are equipped and know that you have the encouragement from your peers. So that's amazing. Marcus, do you have any other questions?
So we've put a program in place at St. Francis, and Hebron has put a great program in place in Ukraine. How do you think other schools and institutions, or our two institutions, can do a better job to foster a supportive environment to encourage female students in STEM and build confidence in STEM? What would you want to see in high schools and colleges to make this even better?
Yeah, so a big stress on soft skills is a must. You know, we always say you can teach the tech skills, but it's hard to teach the soft skills. So providing them the environment where they fail, they learn, they always make mistakes, they learn, right? And then during that process, just like you said, teach them not to regret, not to look back and say and focus on the mistake, but look towards the problem and try to solve that problem. So I think giving them more opportunities to go through that process will make them more successful. What about you? What do you think?
Yeah, I think giving more girls the opportunity to try and see if this is a space for them in an environment where they can build the passion for the subject and build the confidence so that and they can do that in a safer space. And then, as Lauren said, the world is co-ed, but then they can take that passion they've already got, right? And you can hear that from these girls, and I'm sure the women in your school are the same. Now they have that passion, and so they have a reason to push through a lot of the challenges that may come in the co-ed world. I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but I'd love to hear from some of the Ukrainian students about whether all the way around the world, whether this is similar. Do you feel this stuff? Do you resonate with these girls?
Yeah, so we have some students from Hebron Academy, and we also invited our project managers and some female employees at Hebron Soft. So I don't know, maybe somebody from Hebron Soft wants to add anything from Ukraine, or our students at Hebron. Anybody? Sasha, I see you. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
I would like to thank you because all your experience you've shared are really dramatically important for us. And especially the Isa's experience with the imposter syndrome, because I assume that everybody feel the same, and to have the strength to go through it and to feel the support is really essential for everybody. And this is how our community is formed. So thank you. And I wish you prosperity and good luck in all your beginnings.
Thank you, Alexandra.
Yeah, we have questions though, maybe not comments. Hala,
There we go.
She's asking, what challenges did you face working with girls? Now talk about challenges on your side.
Good question. It's a great question. So I had the fortune of working at some great companies. I worked at Intel, and then I worked at a company called Care Innovations. And in both of those environments, especially at Intel, is very large, so 100,000 employees. So you could see environments where women were really thriving, and then you could see other environments where they were not, right? And so as an engineer, I'm a problem solver, even when you know, that's a problem that needs to be solved. I even solve problems that don't need to be solved, right? That's part of being an engineer. But I could look at that and go, okay, what's the difference here? Why is this happening? And then, as Lauren said, my wife is in cybersecurity, she's an engineer in cybersecurity. So I got to experience, you know, day to day at home, the similar struggles. I would say, you know, she would constantly come home and say, oh, I'm going to get a bad review from my boss. I'm going to get a bad review from my boss. And then she would get a promotion, right? I mean, like every year it was like this, right? And so I could see that. And then you know, when Lauren joined robotics, and, you know, I was really passionate about that, of course. So I was really observing in the beginning, and then starting to try to implement some of the programs that I saw that worked. To be honest, one of the challenges that I have is that I'm an old guy, like, right? So I have to spend a lot of time building trust with the girls, and I'm not perfect at it, right? But I spend a lot of time building trust with the girls, making sure they know that I've got their interests first. We talked about servant leadership, right? 100% servant leadership, the interest of the team ahead of my own, and the rest of it will take care of itself, right? What I get out of this is that I love it. Like, I'm super fortunate to be able to do this. I'm fortunate we have this school in Sacramento, and I'm fortunate that I'm able to have a team of girls that I can use my passion to help improve. And then I love seeing them. I don't love seeing them go off to college because I don't get to see them very much anymore, but I love seeing them go off to college and do greater things, right? So that was kind of the journey. I would say the biggest challenge is I don't understand the attribution theory at the same level that you girls do. I don't understand the imposter syndrome at the same level that you girls do, right? I've learned it, but I've learned it by observation. And then I have to also spend a lot of time building the trust, because you can imagine, like, hey, we're gonna have an all-girls robotics team and we're really gonna focus on the girls aspect of it. Okay, why do we have a guy running it? Like, that doesn't make any sense, right? And so anyway, those are probably the biggest challenges.
Nice. If anybody else has any questions, please post or ask here, or you can just post in the chat. Marcus, did you want to add?
Also a question at the top, what city is the school in? The school's in Sacramento, California. So if you're familiar with where San Francisco is, we're about 2 hours inland away from the ocean, 2 hours inland from San Francisco.
Okay.
What are the important skills and qualities that make women effective leaders in information technology? Great question. So there's a few, and there's really two. I would say there are two buckets to think about. One is technical, and the other one is leader. And the reason they're both important, it's very difficult to be a great leader without the technical skills that allow you to communicate and inspire the people you're leading. So I want to be really, really clear. You don't have to be the best engineer, right? I'm a decent engineer. I'm not the best engineer, but I'm a good enough engineer that when I have really fantastic engineers, I can communicate with them. I understand what they're saying. I can provide, you know, some high-level input and feedback and direction. But I also need to understand that it's not my job as the leader to do all the engineering. Like, in fact, my job is to make sure that we have the best people doing the things that they love to do, and then support them in an incredible, supportive way. Get them all the tools they need, get them all the stuff they need, get them all the resources they need, and let them unleash what they do best, right? And then reinforce that for them. So, first of all, think of those two buckets. And early in your career, you'll probably lean a little heavier on the technical side. And later in your career, you'll probably lean heavier on the leadership side. So find a discipline you love, a technical discipline you love, and get good at it. It's great if you're great at it. It's not required that you're great at it, but it's fine if you're great at it. If you want to do that thing forever, if you want to be a mechanical engineer and design stuff in CAD forever, that's fine too. If you don't want to run a team, you're still going to become a leader, because at some point you're going to be really, really, really good at that. And so in a lot of companies, it would be a title like principal engineer or something like that. You are still expected to bring everybody along, even though you don't have to manage them. You don't have to deal with their HR problems and their pay and like all this other stuff, right? But you still are expected to lead them. So find a discipline that you like so you can get really good at, you can get good at it. Then as you enter a team, whether you're doing team projects here, or you're working for Hebron, working for somebody offshore and doing work there, or you're working directly for a big company, start leading always. You don't have to be appointed a leader. You can't be appointed a leader. That the leadership is not an appointed position. It's a responsibility and an obligation. If you focus on ensuring that the team is successful and helping people along the way, you will be successful, period. Because you will be a leader, and then people will follow you. And that will happen even if you don't have a title, even if the big boss didn't say, here's the leader. You know, those are not things that actually create leadership. In large organizations, most of the organization runs on the social network. It runs on who knows who and who trusts who and who's willing to do what for who. And if an organization gets to the point that they have to pull out the organization chart and go, this person's the boss, that organization is in deep trouble already. Like, it's time to find a different company. So my guidance there would be really focus on, even though you're not in an appointed position, on leading. Run towards the problem, bring people with you, tackle the problems, act like your boss or who you want to be like. If your boss isn't good, don't act like them, but act like who you want to be like. Find that person in the organization and go, this person is a leader. I want to be like them. Start being like them. You don't have to have permission. I'll give you an example. A new product goes out. Everybody's worked super hard for 18 months, right? And usually the last 3 months is like, 12-hour days, and it's a big mess, and like, welcome to building projects, right? So you get it out, and there's a big, everybody's really happy. You can send out that note. You can send out the note that says, today we released blah, blah, blah. I am so happy to, I'm so happy to announce that today we released the such and such product. It will have such a big impact on our patients around the world. And it couldn't have been done without the hard work of every single person on this email. I am personally grateful for the effort you all put in, for the time you put in, for the focus on quality, and for the teamwork that we had to get this product out. Now we should take a break and let's get ready for the next one. Like, you can send that email out. And what just happened? Without having an ego, without making a big, like, I'm important, what you just did is elevate yourself above everybody else and said, I am driving I am first focused on the success of this entire project, right? And you can send that out if you're the project manager. You can send that out if you're one of the developers. You have to pick your scope just right. Like, you can't send it out if you're a developer. You can't send it out to the whole company, right? But you can send it out to your whole team and maybe your boss and their peers. You can do that. What are they going to do? Like, nobody's going to be upset about it. It's a great note that says, hey, we did a lot of hard work. We got a product out the door. But all of a sudden, you're the one who's demonstrating leadership. You just became the leader when you sent that email out. And it might take you 30 or 40 minutes to write that email. Those emails take a lot of time. I've spent an hour writing 5-sentence emails. So don't wait until the email comes out and then do the reply all and say, yay, and the 2 thumbs up. Like, nah, don't do that. Craft your own note from your heart about all the effort that your peers put in, that your team put in, and send it out to your peers and your team and thank them personally. I am personally thankful that you all helped get this done, right? That's leading. You weren't given a position. You're not on an org chart. You weren't given a promotion. None of that stuff. But you know what? The next time the boss gets a promotion, leaves, quits, goes to another company, and somebody's looking around going, who are we going to put in charge of this thing? Who are they going to pick? Oh, the person who's been demonstrating that they can already do it.
Absolutely. Yes, thank you. By the way, Daniela,
What-
who asked the question, is one of our students at Hebron. So she's the female student. Thank you, Daniela.
Excellent. Great question. Great question. All right, one last question for the St. Francis girls. Tell us about the moment that they announced St. Francis as the world champions.
So that moment was a very like surreal moment that it took a while to process. Even after we left the like the award ceremony, I still had like a hard time processing that we just won world championships. And it was really, it felt very rewarding because it felt like all of our hard work put in, like, all paid off, but also was very rewarding to hear how winning affected the other teams, because there was like this other all-girls team at competition, and then they said that us earning first place helped to like really inspire them too, and just hearing that made me really happy. So yeah.
Yeah, it was I pretty much I had the same experience as Isa. It was definitely like I did not believe that I believed it because they said it, but it was hard to process. And I think it also like it was part of what I think helped build like my confidence, because I know that last year when we won, like for software, I did a lot of work, and sometimes I had a lot of doubts about the work that I was doing. So it was cool to like get the recognition that like all of our hard work was it was good and it did pay off. Yeah, and then also what Issa said about the other all-girls team, we got to know them through competition, so it was just kind of cool to talk to them about that and hear like the impact that it had on them. So.
I feel like I also had the same experience. It was just like Issa said, really surreal. And then like when they didn't announce us as third place or as second place, I was like, huh, maybe we did it. And then when they said that we got first place, it was just a really like exciting and a really happy time that all of our hard work had paid off. And like because like exactly what Sienna said, like sometimes you have doubts, but then like you can think about, oh, well, like all of our hard work will pay off and like we do know what we're doing. So I think it was really rewarding, and for the rest of like our team to see that their hard work paid off, and like especially the newer girls who had just made something small, but all those little contributions had really paid off and added up to a really good robot. And then for all the other teams, not just the all girls team, like they got inspired, but for all, like there are so many all boys teams, for them to see that girls can succeed too, I think was important.
Very good. I think one of the things we've heard over and over today is also lean on each other, right? So I think Issa talked about it, Sienna talked about it, Lauren talked about it in different ways. Like, and you have a great opportunity because you have an all-girls school at Hebron to lean on each other. It's, you know, when you're not sure, when you're not feeling right, when you're thinking about maybe this isn't for me, like pick up the phone or FaceTime or TikTok or whatever, but not TikTok, FaceTime, and talk to each other, because I think that really helps. And I know our girls have made a network around the world of other girls in STEM, right? And so they can see their successes and they can build off their successes and vice versa. And I think that's fairly unique to the all girls environment as well. The boys tend to be very competitive with each other, and the girls tend to build successes off of each other. And again, I don't know where that comes from, but it just is. So I would encourage that. I think we've heard that from everybody today, and maybe we'll leave it with that.
Wonderful. And I'll just add lean on each other, like you said. I will add trust and have a deep respect. Even if you make mistakes, still respect each other and keep going forward. Well, thank you, Isa, Sienna, and Lauren, for being such great leaders, being role models for some of our students, hopefully today, and our employees from Hebron Soft. Thank you, Marcus, for your for leading both teams, all boys and all girls, especially all girls, and sharing all the secrets about this leadership. Thank you, everybody, for joining. We'll be in touch and have a good day.
Very good. Thank you all. Have a great weekend.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.